Okay. Okay.
Okay, this is chapter 5, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, first canto. The text is 20. Idam hi vishvam bhagavan ivetaro yato jagat-sthana niroda sambhava tadi svayam veda bhavam statapya te pradeshan matram bhavata pradarshitam. Synonyms. Idam, this, he, all, Vishvam, cosmos, Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord, Eva, almost the same, Itara, different from, Yata, from whom, Jagat, the world, Stan, exist, Niroda, annihilation, Sambhava, creation, Tat he, all about, Svayam, personally, Veda, no, Bhavam, your good self, Tatapi, still, Te, unto you, Prasheda Matram, a synopsis only, Bhavata, unto you, Pradarshitam, explained. Translation: the Supreme Lord, personality of Godhead, is himself, this cosmos, and still he is aloof from it. From him only has this cosmic manifestation emanated. In him it rests, and unto him it enters after annihilation. Your good self knows all about this. I've given only a synopsis. Okay, go ahead.
Purport is, for a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, the Lord Sri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda, because it is an emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is a complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the trees are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version that the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahman means that since everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahman, nothing is apart from him. Similarly, the part and partial hands and legs are called the body, but the body has the whole unit as neither the hands nor the legs. The Lord is the transcendental form of eternity, the cognition and beauty, and thus the creation of the energy of the Lord appears to be partially eternal, but of the full in knowledge and beautiful also. The capitated, conditioned souls under the influence of external energy, the Maya, are therefore entrapped in the network of the material nature. They accept this all in all, for all they have no information of the Lord who is the primeval cause, nor have they have information that the parts and partial of the body, being detached from the whole body, are no longer the same hand or legs as when attached to the body. Similarly, a godless civilization detached from the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is just like the detached hand or leg. Such part and parcels may appear like hands and legs, but they have no efficiency. The devotee of the Lord Srila Vyāsadeva knows this very well. He is further advised by Srila Nārada to expand the idea that the entrapped conditioned souls may take lessons from him to understand the Supreme Lord as the primeval cause.
According to the Vedic version, the Lord is naturally very powerful, and thus his supreme energies are always perfect and identical with him. Both the spiritual and the material skies and their paraphernalia are emanations from the internal and external energies of the Lord. The external energy is comparatively inferior, whereas the internal potency is superior. The superior energy is the living force, and therefore she is completely identical, but the external energy, being inert, is partially identical. But both the energies are neither equal to nor greater than the Lord, who is the generator of all energies. Such energies are always under his control, exactly as electrical energy, however powerful it may be, is always under the control of the engineer. Go ahead.
The human being and all other living beings are products of his internal energies. Thus, the living being is also identical with the Lord, but he's never in equal or superior to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Lord and living beings are all individual people. With the help of the material energies, the living beings are also creating something, but none of their creations are equal or superior to the creations of the Lord. The human being may create a small, playful Sputnik and may throw it out outer space, but that does not mean that he can create a planet like the Earth or Moon and float it in the air as the Lord does. Men with a poor fund of knowledge claim to be equal to the Lord. They are never equal to the Lord. This is never to be. The human being, after attaining complete perfection, may achieve a large percentage of the qualities of the Lord, say up to 78%, but it is never possible to surpass the Lord or to become equal with him. In a diseased condition, only the foolish being claims to be the one with the Lord and thus becomes misled by the illusory energy. The misguided living beings therefore must accept the supremacy of the Lord and agree to render loving service to him. For this they have been created. Without this, there cannot be any peace or tranquility in the world. Srila Vyāsadeva is advised by Srila Nārada to expand this idea in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavad Gita, also, the same idea is explained. Surrender fully unto the lotus feet of the Lord. That is the only business of the perfect being.
You ever heard of a Sputnik?
Yeah, that's the Russian spacecraft.
Yeah, that was like 1957 or something. They put the satellite, it was radio controlled. And I was listening to Prabhupada in 1966 talking about the Sputnik. He was saying, that some people say that this whole universe just happened, automatically. But, if you put this Sputnik into space, there are thousands of scientists that are controlling and they're communicating with the Sputnik, and they're calculating all these different kind of movements and everything. And but you say that there's no controller to all these various planets and all these different things just happened automatically. No, it didn't happen automatically. So how can you say that, it takes so many, it's just a contradiction to think that the Sputnik has so many scientists working behind it, but there's no brain behind this entire cosmic creation. That's ridiculous.
Can that be for the ISS too?
So
can that be for the ISS?
It's ISS, International Space
Station. Can it be for that one too, like the Sputnik, where there's like no God consciousness involved in it?
Well, I mean, anything, if you see a piece of wood, like laying on the gutter on the side of the road, you think somebody, a 2x4, you think somebody cut that wood. It just didn't, happen by itself. Anything, doesn't matter what it is, but they have no brains to understand that Krishna is behind everything. Krishna is behind everything. There's a supreme brain behind all this movement, just like you have to have a person behind the car to operate the car. Krishna operates all this, the cosmic manifestation, as an automatic sequence. He just gives it the initial push, and all these things happen by his will. But there is a brain behind it, obviously. Because
I see.
Nothing can happen by chance. Nothing can happen automatically. It just, nature doesn't work that way. So why are they saying that? Because they're rascals and they want to deny God and they want to take all the credit for themselves.
I see where you're going. That makes good sense.
Text 21. Tvam atmanatmanam evehi omogadik parashipumsa paramatmana kalam ajam prajatam jagat Ta Shivayatan Manhu Bhava Byodayo Dighaninyatam. Synonyms: Tvam, yourself, Atmana, by your own self. Atmanam, supersoul, Avehi, search out, Omogadrik, one who has perfect vision. Parashya, of the transcendence. Pumsha, the personality of Godhead. Paramatmana, of the Supreme Lord. Kalam, plenary part. Ajam, birthless. Prajatam, have taken birth. Jagata, of the world. Shivaya, for the well-being. Tat, that. Maha Anubhava, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sri Krishna. Abhyudaya, pastimes. Ganyatam, describe most vividly. Translation: your goodness has perfect vision. You yourself can know the supersoul personality of Godhead because you are present as the plenary portion of the Lord. Although you are birthless, you have appeared on this earth for the well-being of all people. Please, therefore, describe the transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, more vividly.
The purport is the Srila Vyāsadeva is the empowered plenary portion incarnation of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He descended by his causeless mercy to deliver the fallen souls in the material world. The fallen and forgotten souls are detached from the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The living entities are part and souls of the Lord, and they are eternally servitors of the Lord. All the Vedic literatures, therefore, are put into systematic order for the benefits of the fallen souls, and it is the duty of the fallen souls to take advantage of such literatures and be freed from the bondage of material existence. Although formally Srila Nārada Rishi is his spiritual master, Srila Vyāsadeva is not at all dependent on the spiritual master, because in his essence he is the spiritual master of everyone else. But because he is doing the work of an acharya, he has taught us by his own conduct that one must have a spiritual master, even though he be God himself. Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Sri Rama, and Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all incarnations of Godhead except formal spiritual masters, although by their transcendental nature they were cognizant of all knowledge, in order to direct people in general to the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. He himself, in the incarnation of Vyāsadeva, is delineating the transcendental pastimes of the Lord.
So that's why Christ said, no one comes to the Father but through me. In other words, he's the guru. You can't reach God unless you have the guru. That's why Christ said that.
Yeah.
He's the Son of God. God is God. He said, my Father and I, that's the same message. He just repeats what Krishna tells him to say. Text 22. Idam hi pumsam tapasa shrutasya shrishatasya shuktasya cha buddhi datayo avidyuto rita kababir nirupito yad uttama shloka gunarna varnanam. Synonyms: Idam, this, he, certainly, pumsa, of everyone, tapasa, by dint of austerities, shrutasya, by dint of study of the Vedas, va, or shrishtasya, sacrifice, shuktasya, spiritual education, cha, and buddhi, culture of knowledge, datayo, charity, avichyuta, infallible, arta, interest, kavibi, by the recognized learned person, nirupita, concluded, yet what, uttama shloka, the Lord who is described by choice poetry, gunanavarnanam, description of the transcendental qualities of. Translation: learned circles have positively concluded that the infallible purpose of the advancement of knowledge, namely austerity, study of the Vedas, sacrifice, chanting of hymns, and charity, culminates in the transcendental descriptions of the Lord, who is defined in choice poetry.
The purport in the human intellect is developed for the advancement of learning in the arts, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, economics, and politics, etc. By culture of such knowledge, the human society can attain perfection of life. This perfection of life culminates in the realization of the Supreme Being, Vishnu. The Shruti therefore directs that those who are actually advanced in learning should aspire for the service of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, unfortunately, people who are enamored by the external being of Vishnu Maya do not understand that culmination of perfection or self-realization depends on Vishnu. Vishnu Maya means sense enjoyment, which is transient and miserable. Those who are entrapped by Vishnu Maya utilize advancement of knowledge for sense enjoyment. Sri Narada Muni has explained that all paraphernalia of the cosmic universe is but an emanation from the Lord out of his different energies, because of the Lord has set in the motion by his inconceivable energy the actions and reactions of the created manifestations. They have come to be out of his energy. They rest on his energy, and after annihilation they merge into him. Nothing is therefore different from them, but at the same time the Lord is always different from them.
When advancement of knowledge is applied in the service of the Lord, the whole process becomes absolute. The personality of Godhead and his transcendental name, fame, glory, etc., are all non-different from him. Therefore, all the sages and devotees of the Lord have recommended that the subject matter of art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, and all other branches of knowledge should be wholly and solely applied in the service of the Lord. Art, literature, poetry, painting may be used in glorifying the Lord. The fiction writers, poets, and celebrated literateurs are generally engaged in writing of sensuous subjects, but if they turn toward the service of the Lord, they can describe the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. Valmiki was a great poet, and similarly, Vyāsadeva is a great writer, and both of them have absolutely engaged themselves in delineating the transcendental activities of the Lord, and by doing so, they have become immortal. Similarly, science and philosophy should be applied in the service of the Lord. There is no use in presenting dry speculative theories for sense gratification. Philosophy and science should be engaged to establish the glory of the Lord. Advanced people are eager to understand the absolute truth through the medium of science, and therefore a great scientist should endeavor to prove the existence of the Lord on a scientific basis. Similarly, philosophical speculations should be utilized to establish the supreme truth as sentient and all-powerful. Similarly, all other branches of knowledge should always be engaged in service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also, the same is affirmed. All, quote, knowledge, end quote, not engaged in the service of the Lord is but nescience. Real utilization of advanced knowledge is to establish the glories of the Lord, and that is the real import. Scientific knowledge engaged in the service of the Lord and all similar activities are all factually Hari Kirtan, or glorification of the Lord. Text 23. Aham puratita bhave bhavam mune dasyastu kasyachana veda vadinam nirupita balakaeva yoginam shushrusane pravrishi nirviviksatam. Synonyms. Aham, I, pura, formerly. Ata bhave, in the previous millennium, abhavam became mune, O Muni, dasya, of the maidservant, too, but kasyachana, certainly, or certain Veda Vadinam, the followers of Vedanta Nirupita, engaged balaka, boy servant, eva, only, yoginam, of the devotees, shushushane, in the service of Pravrishi, during the 4 months of the rainy season, nirviviksatam, living together. Translation. O Muni, in the last millennium, this is like in a former day of Brahma, in other words, like billions of years ago. In the last millennium, I, this is talking to Nārada speaking, was born as a son of a certain maidservant and engaged in the service of Brahmanas who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. Good.
The purport, the wonder of an atmosphere surcharged with the devotional service of the Lord is briefly described herein by Sri Nārada. He was the son of the most insignificant parentage. He was not properly educated still, because his complete energy was engaged in the service of the Lord. He became an immortal sage. Such is the powerful action of the devotional service. The living entities are the marginal energy of the Lord, and therefore they are meant for being properly utilized in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. When this is not done, one situation is called Maya. Therefore, the illusion of Maya is at once dissipated as soon as one's full energy is converted in the service of the Lord instead of the sense enjoyment. For the personal example of Sri Nārada in his previous birth, it is clear that the service of the Lord begins with the service of the Lord's bona fide servants. The Lord says that the service of his servants is greater than his personal service. Service of the devotee is more valuable than the service of the Lord. One should therefore choose a bona fide servant of the Lord, constantly engage in his service, accept such a servant as the spiritual master, and engage himself in his spiritual master service. Such a spiritual master is the transparent medium by which to visualize the Lord, who is beyond the conception of the material senses. By service of a bona fide spiritual master, the Lord consents to reveal himself in proportion of the service rendered. Utilization of the human energy in the service of the Lord is the progressive path of salvation. The whole cosmic creation, because at once identical with the Lord as soon as the service in the relation with the Lord is rendered under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. The expert spiritual master knows the art of utilizing everything, glorify the Lord, and therefore under his guidance, the whole world can be turned into the spiritual boat by the divine grace of the Lord's servant.
Text 24. Te mai apeta kila chapale ribake, dante nidita kridana te nuvartini, chakru kripa yadhayapi tulya darshana, shushamane munyalapabashini. Synonyms: te, they, mai, unto me, apeta, not having undergone, akila, all kinds of, chapale, proclivities, arbake, unto a boy, dante, having controlled the senses, adrita kridanake, without being accustomed to sporting habits, anuvartini, obedient, chakru, did bestow, kripam, causeless mercy, yadyapi, although tulya darshanat, impartial by nature, shushu shamane, unto the faithful munaya, the Muni followers of the Vedanta, alpabashini, one who did not speak more than required. Translation: although they were impartial by nature, those followers of the Vedanta blessed me with their causeless mercy. As far as I was concerned, I was self-controlled and had no attachment for sports, even though I was a boy. In addition, I was not naughty, and I did not speak more than required.
The purport is in the Bhagavad Gita. The Lord says, all the Vedas are searching for me, after me. Lord Sri Krishna Chaitanya says that in the Vedas, the subject matters are only three, namely, to establish the relation of the living entities with the personality of Godhead, perform the relative duties in devotional service, and thus achieve the ultimate goal, back to Godhead. As such, Vedanta Vedas, or the followers of the Vedantas, indicate the pure devotees of the personality of Godhead. Such Vedantavadis, or the Bhakti Vedantas, are impartial in disturbing the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. To them, no one is enemy or friend, no one is educated or uneducated, no one is especially favorable, and no one is unfavorable. The Bhakti Vedanta see that people in general are wasting time in false, sensuous things. Their business is to get the ignorant mass of the people to reestablish a lost relationship with the personality of Godhead by search and endeavor. Even the most forgiven soul is roused up in the sense of spiritual life, and thus being initiated by the Bhaktis Vedantas, the people in general gradually progress in the path of transcendental realization. So the Vedanta Vadis initiated the boy even before he became self-controlled and was detached from childish sporting, etc. But before the initiation, he became more and more advanced in this discipline, which is very essential for one who wishes to make progress in the line. In the system of, how do you pronounce that? Is it Varna or Ashram Dharma, which is the beginning of the actual human life? Small boys after 5 years of age are sent to become brahmacharis at the guru's ashram, where these things are systematically taught to every boy, but he be a king's son or a son of an ordinary citizen. The training was compulsory not only to create good citizens of the state, but also to prepare the boy's future life of spiritual realization. The irresponsible life of sense enjoyment was unknown to the child of the followers of the Varnashram system. A boy was even injected with spiritual acumen before being placed by the father in the womb of the mother. Both the father and the mother were responsible for the boy's success and being liberated from the material bondage. That is the process of successful family planning. It is to beget children for complete perfection without being self-controlled, without being self-disciplined, and without being fully obedient. No one can become successful in the following instructions of the spiritual master, and without doing so, no one is able to go back home, back to Godhead. Your audio is back off.
Yeah, we're going to have to stop here because we're running out of time here. You got any questions about these couple of verses?
For now, no, because it is a little, the weather isn't really good, so I think we should just call it a day.
Okay, well, thank you for joining. I appreciate it.
All right, stay safe out there.
I'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Okay, thank you. Have a good one. Have a good week, the rest of your week.
Yeah, stay safe for the weather.
Will do.